September 11th, 2001. A day that we all know, and still is, one of the most infamous days in American history. Fast forward to 2021, current day, we have all been shown that even after these horrific events that were heinously acted upon at the Twin Towers and the Pentagon, our country still can move forward and ultimately build positively after these attacks. Well, that is what we're taught to believe. It is true that our economy did drastically change post 9/11, including the way defense spending on terrorism has been changed to help the United States, safety regulations within airports, and a more active military training on defense and overseas conflicts to help the United States. Though that is all true, did we ever stop to think about those Arab Americans or those who practice the Muslim religion and how they were affected after the 9/11 attacks in 2001? We can see through our own lives and experiences, mine included, how life has changed for Americans after 9/11. But has it been the same for Arab Americans or Muslims living in the United States? The answer is no. Life for these Arab Americans and Muslims has not been positively affected after these attacks. In current day, it is shown through the news and everywhere that hate crimes are becoming increasingly popular and more studies are being done on race, religion, and genders. But contrary to that fact, there haven't been many studies done on how the tragic events in 9/11 have contributed to how these Arab Americans and Muslims have been affected. In the few studies that have been completed, it has been shown that Arab Americans or those who practice the Muslim religion have been negatively impacted by the results of 9/11. There has been a large increase on hate crimes towards these citizens that result in long-term psychological effects that harm the mental and physical health of these people. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, also known as the FBI, reported a 1,600% increase in hate crimes against these populations in the year after the September 11th attacks. Although that was only 2002, it's still prevalent today in 2021. A population-based survey of the Middle Eastern Arabic-speaking adults in the United States was conducted, and approximately 20% of Arabs and 50% of Muslims reported discrimination in the 8 months that followed after the September 11th attacks. Not only that, mosques and Muslim-owned businesses have been vandalized, individuals that appear Muslim or Arab have been verbally abused, physically assaulted, and in some cases even murdered. This is all still true in 2021. The question that's still being unanswered today is how has the climate that developed post these 9/11 attacks affected the overall health of these Arab Americans and Muslims? According to a study that was published in the American Journal of Public Health, these hate crimes, racial and ethnic discrimination, has been associated with increased psychological distress, anxiety, increased risk for mental health outcomes, and poorer health statuses. Many perspectives on why these hate crimes are occurring post 9/11 have been researched and published, and they are hypothesized to understand why certain Americans are targeting these Arab Americans or Muslims to harm them. One perspective from an article published in the University of California Press studied the intergroup conflicts for the American population. They first set to establish why this prejudice is being motivated, and those resulted in the idea that discrimination is driven by 3 factors: demographics, economic conditions, and the distribution of political power. The literature of this article also makes a large emphasis on the fact that these Arab and Muslim groups are a minority size within the United States. One theory suggests that the discrimination that is happening to these groups is a result from the idea that their group size in general, is affecting behaviors of other Americans. Group size may simply indicate an opportunity for Americans who want to impose harm on the Arab and Muslim Americans. Another theory suggests that these hate crime participants perceive a real threat posed by these minority groups. The idea that these dominant groups, in this case Americans or Caucasians, seek to maintain their powerful position and resort to discrimination or hate crimes to eliminate threats that they perceive from these minority groups. The final theory suggests in this article by the University of California Press brings the idea to political power into mind. The power differential perspective theory suggests that majority groups, such as the Americans or Caucasians, their members act on the prejudices when they feel that there will be little to no backlash or punishment from their local law enforcement when they act on harm to these minority groups. No matter the theory behind why these hate crimes are occurring, one thing through all these studies has proven significant, and it is that Arab and Muslim groups that are located within the United States are suffering at the hand of our American citizens. Not only are these Arab and Muslim Americans experiencing verbal attacks, physical assaults, or even murder, they are also experiencing extreme deterioration of their mental and physical health. As stated earlier, many have developed forms of anxiety, psychological distress, lower levels of happiness, and worse health statuses, all because they live in the United States. The studies that have been conducted, whether it be the American Journal of Public Health, the University of California Press, human rights or human welfare articles, or more, have concluded a universal judge to combat these discrimination issues. Altogether, with the studies that have been conducted, there are clear methods that can help alleviate some of the hatred and misunderstandings of these minority groups within the United States. Some practices that these scientific studies are urging our government and society to take part in are providing a form of education on these minority groups, expanding the average American's knowledge on these minority groups, developing culturally sensitive programs and interventions, and partnering with Arab communities to try to better understand pathways to help eliminate this discrimination. Discrimination among Arab and Muslim communities here in the United States have been statistically proven to increase following the 9/11 attacks. Not only does this include a wide range of hate crimes that can be anywhere from assault, vandalism, to murder, but it also affects the majority of the mental and physical health of the everyday Arab Americans and Muslims living in the United States. Better knowledge, as stated by scientific studies and conclusions, is recommended to help get to the root of these issues and develop a more culturally sensitive world for our Americans, our Arab Americans, our Muslims, and everyone else here in the United States.